remember, guys, here we are talking about living younger, longer. We are not making you live longer. It's all about health span. What's the point of living up to 150 years old, but you're going to live that life in a wheelchair? I think every one of us would rather choose living a little bit shorter, but have a great quality of life, right?
Started. My name is Dr. Sierra Dedeker. I've been aligned with Newskin for 24 years now in September. Absolutely love everything about this company. Most and top of my list would be the science and the scientists behind it. So that is why we are here today hosting this science lunch. And we are going to be talking about AgeLock, the brand, everything behind it. And let me just introduce the amazing Dr. Joe Chang. So this man is incredible in many ways. For those of you that know him, you know he has a heart of gold, but he's also a visionary and he's creating a world for us that is 10 times better than it would have been without him in it. So he has a doctorate of pharmacology from the University of London. He has a postdoctorate at Johns Hopkins. He is the Chief Scientific Officer and Executive VP of Product Development since February of 2006, and a knowledge in both pharmaceutical and dietary supplement industries. And he's been truly an innovative leader of the products that we have that I have been passionate about since the very beginning. He's also held various executive research management positions with several biotech companies, truly a leader of innovation with groundbreaking work that he has brought to the field of medicine. He's also a prolific author and published numerous articles, reviews on books, pharmacological research, and he wrote the book, The Aging Myth, which we're going to talk a little bit about today. And we're creating formulas that are age locked. So, for the new person or even for someone that's been in a long time and doesn't know how to explain age lock, how did that come about and what is age lock?
Yeah. So once again, right, without the science and all the research that we do, I don't think we would ever been able to develop age lock. And here's what AgeLock is all about. When our product scientists and everybody else in the scientific R&D team, we look around and say, well, all these products, including ourselves before AgeLock, we would say the first thing we focus on is really just trying to cover up the science of aging, right? We begin to realize that really, when you converge everything that we want to do in Nu Skin, what were we trying to achieve? We're an anti-aging company. Right. How are we doing it at that time when we ask this next question? And that is, well, okay, because we're trying to cover up the science of aging. We were really we were sort of employing a cosmetic approach, if you will, a very superficial approach. And that's when we say, well, can we do better? And that is say that, well, why don't we see whether we can go further up on the waterfall and shut off the faucet further upstream? That is what we call the aging, sources of aging. Are there really sources of aging that exist in the body? What are they? Okay. And it just so happened we were informed, or at least we begin to know a group out in University of Wisconsin that were really looking at the genetics of aging. Yeah. And at that time, 2003, we sort of totally, all the scientists in the world and so on, they have collectively mapped out what the genes are in our body. Okay. What they don't know out of those 23,000 genes, exactly what are the ones that are really responsible for affecting the body, or in other words, that controls the body as far as the aging process is concerned. And that's where the University of Wisconsin group told us and said, look, we actually have found certain clusters of genes in the body. They are directly governing or regulating the aging process in the body. Okay. I said, really? You have done that? Said, how do you do that? And how did you come to this conclusion? Well, they sort of said, well, we through new technology, and it's called gene chip technology, we identified that some of these genes are turn on or turn off, depending. It's a group approach, is a holistic approach, if you will, at the genetic level, that depending on the tissue and how it ages, different sets or groups of genes are turned on and off. Okay. So you say, wow, that is incredible insight. And they say, can you influence it? And they say, yes, because this is not a physical sort of the modification of the gene structure, is actually the genetic activity that over time that is being affected by our lifestyle and external influences. That's why when you first started off, that's for intents and purposes, they're talking about, now we know we're talking about epigenetics. Okay. And epi is really a Greek word that says on the surface of the gene. And that's what you can influence. You don't modify the genes. Okay. We're not doing that. We're not gene engineers. We don't engineer it. We just want to clean up those genes so they can behave like how they behave when you were at a much younger and youthful state. That's really what age-lock is all about. So we have this map. We always create what we call, you're going to see a lot of genetic heat maps. Our scientists are pretty proud of showing you and all those heat maps. There are different colors and all that. And that actually is an illustration of hundreds of genes that we have fagged for that particular product, and we can change it, right? And that's what age-lock is all about. Is fundamentally, it comes down to this: taking the products will actually restore the gene expression / activity of that cluster of gene back to a more youthful state. And that is how you can slow the aging process in your body. Okay. So
you put that in the comments. That's it right there.
Yeah,
that's the easy way to explain it.
I can't stop you getting a year older from now. For a year from now, you're going to be a year older. But what I can help you and sort of assist you is that a year from now, your body doesn't have to be biologically 1 year older.
Incredible.
Right. Chronologically, you're going to be a year older. But biologically, that's why I think many of us would have heard. I mean, 60 is the new 50, right?
Yeah.
That's really what age-lock is all about. We are participating in that health span concept and notion. All right.
Winning. I think
so
winning.
it still remains to this day, because I think it's off the proprietary knowledge that we have. We still seem to be the only company that actually employs this to address the sources of aging. We now know, everything in our body, how we think, how we behave, how we function, they're all related to a certain set of genes that either turn on and off in the body. All you have to do is to find out what that cluster is. And that's what we have done with age-lock.
And that's why you've written a book about it.
Ah, yeah.
We show him.
Right? Yeah.
So here's Joe's book. Okay,
Yeah.
guys. I'll put the link in the comments. But when I read this book, I went, wow, this man is a genius. Joe, for everything that I need in life. So
I know. I think at the very beginning, I described my my relationship with my parents, right? And that actually also the personal impetus for me to ask this question: why do we age so differently? Especially looking at my parents, and that sort of led me and the rest of the scientists here to this concept of age-lock.
Yeah. And then the concept of, and what I always teach is then nutrigenomics, right? So the study of what we can feed our genes is where you then took it another level of great. One thing to know what our genes can do, but what if we can feed them to work more optimally, right? And then putting that into products